You're listening to RTI Audio, powered by Rocky Top Insider. This is Pancakes and Bacon with VFL, Kyler Kerbison, and Reed Bacon.
Hello, Vol Nation. Welcome to another episode of Pancakes and Bacon. I'm your host, as always, Kyler Kerbison, joined with Reed Bacon. We have a great one today. I know Reed gives me guff for saying that every time, but we're talking about the defense today. What do we think of this, deep defensive line? What are we going to do at linebacker? And who do we think might be in those certain positions at DB? So it's going to be a fun episode. But before we get into any of that stuff, Reed, how are we doing, bud?
Yellow. I'm doing well. Besides off air, just getting ridiculed for being 15 minutes late. Sorry. My coffee said hello, and I had to handle some business. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Had a great weekend. I am legitimately extremely fired up to talk defense for multiple reasons. But other than that, I had a nice weekend. I played a little putt-putt last night, dominated. I was playing Megan and her mom, but it's fine. I still dominated.
Yeah. The competition wasn't that great.
Yeah. Whoa, don't say that. Hey, they played all right. And then this morning was funny because in Mass, there was a lady in front of us who had a service dog, and it was a beautiful lab. He was a good boy. And of course, anytime I see dogs, I'm just like, I have a big problem. If I see a good boy or girl, I got to go see them. But it was so funny because Megan was like, it's a service dog. You're not allowed to touch it.
Yeah, you're not allowed to touch him, Reed.
And it was so painful for me because he was so cute. He was probably 4, 5, 6. He was so well behaved. And when we would stand up, he'd put his head on the pew and just look at the people behind him, and it melted my heart. I was like, so anyways, other than that, getting to see that good boy in Mass today was great, and I'm ready to rock and roll. How's your weekend been?
Not too shabby. Typical stuff, yard work, laundry, all that kind of stuff. I have had I've had some extra time to get a couple 9-hole golf outings.
You didn't tell me that. When did you do that?
So recently a project is finishing up at work, so I've had late afternoons a little bit available.
Yeah.
And I've been going to the Ted Rhodes golf course that's right over here. Been playing 9.
Yeah.
And dude, I cannot putt to save my life. You brought up putt, it made me think my putting has been absolutely atrocious recently.
Are the greens good over there?
I mean, they're fine. They're not incredible, but I'm a guaranteed 3-putt every time. And
are they fast or are they slow?
I think slow. I'm telling you, I can't get my speed right. I can't get my angles right. I'm missing all over the place. But the driver's coming along. It's getting a little bit better. The irons are a little bit more consistent, not as much slicing happening. So I'm enjoying that part of it.
So yeah, I haven't played golf since it's probably been 3 weeks. I played the Thursday or Friday before the wedding, and then you go to honeymoon. Then I've been back, and past couple weekends or weeks, for whatever reason, I haven't felt it. I haven't felt like wanting to go out and hit the range. I haven't really been craving to go play. And I have been battling for the past 2 weeks, a little bit of I don't know if it's allergies or head cold or whatever, but where there's some days where I just get super tired and I'm just I don't really want to do anything after work and working out. So it'll pick back up. I'll play maybe once or twice or practice, hit balls, and then go play, because next weekend basically, or 2 weekends from now, football goes, and you're not going to catch me really on the course hardly ever when football starts, because I just would rather watch.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to miss out on games.
Yeah, I'm fired up. I'm fired up. I didn't watch the Titans preseason because none of the starters played yesterday, but I was watching the Chiefs and Lions when Patrick Mahomes threw it behind his back, and like just seeing football on TV is just it's a yeah. So but yeah, I'm fired up. So I'm in the process of writing my quote down. I do know what quote I want to use today, but when the bathroom break calls, you got to go handle biz, dude. That coffee's small, but that coffee looks ridiculous. That honestly looks like it's a child's play toy cup.
Yeah, this is I think it's a 12 ounce. I think.
That thing looks like it's for a little kid to play with.
It's the same thing when I hold like a soda can.
Yeah, the beer can, soda can in your hand is quite funny.
I can just hide it. I can literally hide it behind my hand.
Yeah, it is funny. All right, well, let's dive in.
What, are you going to get your quote ready, or are we going to dive in first?
No. Oh my goodness! I almost forgot. Was there big Tennessee news this weekend?
Yeah. Can Hypo recruit or what?
It's all right. No big deal. It's just another number one player in the country, best offensive lineman in the country. But yeah, it's no big deal. No big deal.
Everybody's worried about the offensive line. It's going to be really bad next year.
Hey, listen, we don't really talk recruiting as we've talked about on here until they actually recruit. But anytime you get the number one player in the nation, which is funny, bro. Like, I like that I'm like this, where I'm not so focused on it. But I was out at my parents' house yesterday visiting with Tyler and his kids. They came to my parents' pool for a little bit, so I was out there. And then I'm driving back, and I'm like, oh, it's like 3 o'clock. I was like, that David Sanders was committing today. I was like, let's check it out. And so I pull up Twitter. I'm like, they got him. I was like, that's awesome. Like everyone said we were going to get him. It's nice to actually get him. And then I had to do it. When I got home, after I showered, I had to sit down and I had to pull the highlights up. Now, this is not a full breakdown. I didn't watch a ton of it, but I saw enough to be like, I told you this, he's absolutely the most athletic lineman I have ever watched on film. I mean, he literally was so graceful, so elegant, looked like a dang tight end out there. I told you I didn't know how good the competition was. There looked like there was some future frat stars out in front of him. But like I told you, if that's the case, you better dump and bury and absolutely wreck. And he dumped and buried and absolutely wrecked anyone in front of him. So I'll be excited. Hopefully, knock on wood, that he stays committed, he stays locked in. Once he signs his papers, then we get the big fella's opinion of him. But I'm going to tell you, I was like, wow. And that's he's still going to have some growing to do, because he's still got to put some weight on to get ready for, when he gets here. I don't know if he'll be a Trey Smith that walks in day one, because Trey Smith was so physically gifted, which so is David Sanders on like pass pro and stuff. But I don't know if the weight, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I mean, it was, he glided, bro.
Love to know that. I haven't watched it yet. So I am excited to watch it, though. I always like a nice dancing bear out there. But I'm with you. There's a difference in like Trey Smith. His ready was a lot like, I'm still strong as shit. Like, yes, I just came from high school, but I'm a powerful MFer.
Yeah.
Out here.
I mean, he looked good. I mean, he just looked it too.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think David's going to struggle putting weight on. I mean, yeah, he's like listed as 6'7", 285, but like you can put on 15 pounds and be Joe Staley and be a freaking beast.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what I equate it to, is like guys like that were like almost tight ends. They put on some weight and they have they're dancing bears. They got the athletic feet. And then it's like, now we're talking. Now it's dangerous.
I'm telling you, bro, I popped that thing on. How smooth. Like I said, he glided. It was so effortless. And I was like, this is special for a guy that big. And he looks great. I mean, he almost looks too thin because he looks like a dang tight end out there. But I was telling my dad this yesterday because he doesn't keep up with this stuff. If he doesn't hear it from me or from Sports Talk, then like he doesn't really know. But I was talking to him. I said, I try not to get excited about recruiting. If you give me the best offensive lineman, the best quarterback, and the best defensive lineman, I'm like everything else will be patchworked, whether through older guys, younger guys, transfers.
I only need 3-star hearts at linebacker. That's all I need, linebacker.
You just need a bunch of Reed Bacons out there.
That's right. Number 27.
All right, let's hear it. Let's start this.
Let's start. As you're getting your quote together. So, starting on the D line, big boys up front, most important, like you always say. Do you want to go interior or D ends first?
Whatever you want. I I was listening back to our last week pod, just making sure everything sounded good. And you're like, growing up, when you're a little bit bigger, you always want to be like a tight end or a linebacker. And I was like, no, I want to be a center, a guard, or a
You don't get it.
Or a defensive tackle. I want to get in there.
You don't get it.
No, so I sent you the video of Jeffrey Simmons, which was just insane.
Yes, and one-on-ones.
Yeah, and so I was talking to Tyler about it yesterday, and I said, bro, if there was a local middle school that was like, yeah, we're looking to do some renovations. Anyone that wants to make a donation, they get to play on our football team. I'd be like, here's $10,000.
Middle school.
I'm playing D line. I'm playing D tackle, D line for your 8th grade team, and I'm playing all season. Here's $10,000. You know how, and I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to hurt anyone else, but to be able to feel where you were that much more just wrecking ball, and I just get my hand in the dirt and just throwing bodies everywhere. Oh,
yes.
I'm not kidding. 10,000. I would pay $10,000 to play D line.
Yeah, no. Listen. There are good parts about it. I remember doing that as a D lineman, but I want to get a freaking pick. I want to get an interception. I want to cover some dudes. I want to get a running start at some guys and get big hits. You don't really get that at D line. You get this. You just stand there like a wall and let them run into you and make the tackle.
You can get some big hits on quarterbacks or receive. I mean,
Sometimes,
especially if you ran the line. If it's a run going left or right and you run down the line, they cut back and it's just that like cut back, boom. Like,
yeah, but I want to take some damn heads off across the middle.
Yeah, well, no one can do that anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's start
wherever you want. Start wherever you want. I want to hear.
Start with the interior because you're talking about it so much. The interior D line is where we have the most depth, which I really, really like. I think they're going to be so much more important because the way James Pierce is going to get sacks is if the other D linemen do their job. Like if they are not causing pressure or making it a little more difficult for the center and the guards, quarterbacks can step up and avoid the rush of James Pierce. Now, that's not to say that James can't do it by himself. Okay. He very much can.
Yeah.
He very much can cut the edge that a tackle's trying to set so he can get to the quarterback pretty quick. But those interior guys and what they do is going to help so much. They are also going to be very important because of our linebackers, which we will get to.
Yes.
But in a way, the D-line, like part of the interior guy's job is prevent guys getting to linebackers. Like, do not let the double team get to the linebacker. You take the double team on. So I love that we have Amari Thomas back. I mean, we talk about him all the time. Big O. I mean, I wanted to go great, but he's a damn good defensive lineman. When you brought up the other day and you were talking about, defensive players over the past, 25 years from 97, and we were going through like D linemen and trying to remember, and like John Henderson, like we're like bringing up guys, Jesse Mahalona and like Dan Williams and like
Jesse Mahalona.
But it's like John Henderson is great. Like he is like one of the greatest. Like Amari's not that, but he's a pretty damn good D lineman for us.
Yeah, he's really good. Yeah.
And then we have guys like Omar Norman Lott, like Bryson Eason, that we know what they are. We know who they're going to be out there. Tyree West, where it's like, all right, I know names. They're not new names. That's what makes me feel even better. It's like I've seen these guys play. I've seen what they've been able to do. And then you got other guys like that transfer from Stanford, Jackson Moy. Like I want to see Buddy and what he can do, because honestly, Reed, the transfers we've gotten in the transfer portal on D-line the past 3 to 4 years have been pretty damn good additions.
I agree completely.
That they've done more than what it was really like, hey, you're just an extra for us, and they actually contributed and played and did really well. And like Omar Norman Lott is a great example of that.
I mean, a poor boy had to play a million snaps, but who was it that came from USC?
White dude.
Yeah, for Caleb Tremblay.
Yeah.
That boy he gave his effort, and I felt bad because that first year with Heupel was here, we just didn't have the depth to rotate. So those guys, him and Roman Harrison and Tyler Barron, were out there playing like every snap. Don't forget when we were at practice, and there's a gentleman there who played at Tennessee, played D-line at Tennessee, was a part of the strength and conditioning. Now he's out at Baylor now, and you had a good relationship with him, and he's a great guy. But we were sitting there, and we started almost like fanboying a little bit of like, all right, hey, who's this? Tell me about this. Tell me about this. Tell me about this.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first saw Jackson, and I was like, who's little baby Aaron Donald out there? Because he looked just like him, how he was swagged out and dressed out. And the gentleman was like, he's nice. He's real nice. Like, he's a monster. He's been really, really good. We're so surprised. And I think, and are you done talking about interior?
Yeah, I mean, we'll go back and forth.
Yeah, okay. I just didn't want to like hijack like I usually do. But so you hear that, and then it's like, I know how important D-line is in football, and I think that's why I'm so excited about this year, because it's like quarterback and D-line, and then there's all the other parts that are unknown, and those have to step up for us to be a really good team.
Yeah.
But it's like the most important building pieces are there.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there, and it's like we talk to him, and then we hear Tim Banks talking about like first day of camp or whatever it was, or first day of spring ball. I don't even remember now. And he's like, we could have one of the best D-lines in the country. Like, I don't think you say that unless you truly, truly feel that. You can say, hey, we have a really good team. We have a good room. We're going to be really good. We got to keep working. But he's like, I think we have one of the best ones in the country.
Yeah.
And then when you think about it, if you remember the little short Jack put a little short of us together from one of our podcasts last year, and it's still extremely relevant now, basically 365 days forward, we were like a hockey team with a hockey lineup. And I said it, and this is just, not even the whole D line. This is just interior now. You got Amari, you got Omar Norman Lott, you got Jackson, you got Elijah Simmons, you got Bryson Eason, you have Dominic Bailey. Every single player I just mentioned has played really, really well, and has done things to really help the team. That's insane. That wasn't our D-line. That was literally just the interior guys that I named. I didn't mention Tyree West there. The gentleman that we talked to at practice had mentioned how big Nathan Robinson, old Big Country, who was like a 3-star and came in, and I think he's only like a true – dude, when these guys come in, I forget now. I don't know if he's a freshman now or maybe he's a sophomore. No, I think he's a sophomore. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, sophomore, but redshirt freshman because I think he got hurt last year. And the guy that we were talking to at practice was like, dude, he hit the gym because he was injured. And they were like, because he looked great. You and I saw him. We were like, wow, he looked great, like strong, big, good length. And they said he was giving people problems on the inside. And then it was Tyree Weatherby, who also was another guy in that Nathan Robinson class. And the guy at practice was like, he's been a menace. He's been physical. He's been strong. So it's like this group, this D-line group or this coaching staff has gone out and just got a bunch of goons, bro. They've gone out and they got a bunch of goons, and these guys are going to be coming at your ass.
And you're talking about going out and getting goons. We haven't even mentioned Jordan Ross. Like, buddy's a beast.
Too. I'm not even getting to the edge rushers yet. This is the two middle. I'm talking everyone I've said so far is the two middle. And that it's insane that I named that many guys.
I think Jordan could do both, honestly.
Well, that's pretty big time if you're saying that about a freshman, but we'll wait and see. I mean, I haven't seen it.
Listen, obviously he's a freshman, like that part of it, yeah. But I'm talking about size-wise, body-wise.
Yeah.
He could bounce back and forth. He could be the
Tyler Barron.
Yeah, the Tyler Barron for us.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, I will be watching it as a Tennessee fan and as a football fan. I mean, because you know it, like, and I talk about it all the time, but like, I send you videos of defensive linemen all the time because I'm just so fascinated by it. And that's D-line, edge rushers, or whatever. I mean, I just named like 10 dudes, and those are D tackles. And they, like I said, they've all made plays. Like, you're like, oh, yeah, Reed, Dominic Bailey, whatever. It's like, go back last year. Dominic Bailey had some really good plays. We all know how good Bryson Easton's been. He got a lot of pub in spring, and then it's like Elijah Simmons, who's been around for a long time, like he's going to play his role well. And a guy like Elijah, it might not make any flash plays, but I can promise when he's getting a lot of rotation in with other guys, that's only going to help a guy like him. And then like the guy that I love Omar Norman-Lott. I love how he plays the game. I think he's going to be I swear, I think we're going to look up and Omar Norman-Lott will be like an 8-year pro in the NFL because it's just like because of his style of play. He gives a lot of effort. He's got that nasty. He uses his hands well. And then like a Tyree West, who I look like is like a baby Omar Norman-Lott, like because they kind of play the same. It's freakish, bro. And we're not even talking about the edge rushers. I'll let you talk about edge rushers now. But when you were talking like, hey, James Pierce is going to get sacks, but we need some other pressure, I just personally think James Pierce is so special. That boy's going to get plenty on his own. I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah, no. He'll get plenty on his own, but it's like when you're playing Alabama and you got a running quarterback, and it's like it's like the missed opportunity, like the missed sacks that you could have had because James Pierce beat his guy, but because he was able to step up in the pocket, we didn't get a sack, and it's a 30-yard completion. It's like that is so frustrating to see. So those are like what I'm talking about. I mean, had plenty of those versus different quarterbacks when I was at Tennessee. I mean, I remember when we played Oklahoma at Tennessee and Baker Mayfield was there, and I kid you not, I think we had like 7 missed sacks.
Yeah.
Where guys just slipped off of them, or it was just like they only were able to get an arm. And it makes like such a difference if you're just able to keep your lanes closing in on the quarterback. James Pierce, obviously, set up to be an All-American. Like he can have one of those standout seasons. He can be a first-round pick. It's all about how he's approaching this game, what he's going to do with what he's been given, right?
Yeah.
The opportunity he's been given, how is he going to take advantage of it? Because people see him as a great, great player now, and he is a great, great player. So it's like, are you going to be the Jadeveon Clowney his last year? Or are you going to be the what's a good
Derek
one? Derek Barnett. A freaking Khalil Mack. Like their last years, they just go absolutely off. It's that's the interesting part. I think James Pierce definitely can do it. I think he's going to need to play maybe more than he might necessarily be like comfortable with, like more snaps than he might be comfortable with. Because, like I said, we have a lot of depth in the interior. I don't think there's a ton at the end. Like I see James Pierce, I see Josh Josephs, I see Caleb Herring, and then I'm like Emmanuel from the guy from overseas. Like, can Tyrese Weatherby go out there? Can Tyree West go out there a little bit? Like that kind of stuff. So it's like I see three dudes, and then I kind of see a little bit of a drop. So in my head, I'm like, James, like, you might have to play more snaps than you think. Like if like defense is out there for a total of, let's say, 70 in a game, like, I might need you to play 50, bud.
So I think you hit the nail on the head. I'm not worried about it because, there's a lot of times you'll see Tennessee where we have 4 down linemen, but it looks like it's 3 down linemen because we'll have 3 and then someone standing up, and whether they stand up the whole time or to the last minute of you got a 3 down lineman of Amari Thomas, Bryson Easton, and Dominic Bailey, and then the only guy standing is a James Pierce, Joshua Joseph, Roman Harrison did a lot. Like some of those guys.
Bryson Easton's been out there before.
Dominic Bailey's been out there. So I think a lot of those guys will get that. And then, but it just all depends on situational. I think it depends on the game itself and then the situation within the certain games and who we're playing. But yeah, I mean, so it could be very much where it looks like a 3-by-1 on the D line where it's like you're more traditional 3 bigger guys, and then we'll have the one edge compared to, a couple years ago, you would see, they would put Amari Thomas, Bryson Easton, and then you would have your legit Byron Young and Roman Harrison. So it just depends. And that's what's cool about it is because there's so many different body types, there's so many different skill sets, they'll flop them around. That's why I'm not necessarily as worried about outside. And especially, I'm just not worried about it because of the high-end talent. I mean, I know how good Derek Barnett was. We watched it. We don't need to forget how awesome he was. I mean, I know you don't because you went up against him every day. Yeah. But I mean, and he was still a first-round draft pick. He went in the teens. But to have a guy who could potentially be top 5, I mean, that's insane. And don't get me wrong, because I know statistically wise, Derek Barnett put those sacks up and he still could get that edge like nobody's business. But I don't think he's probably he was probably more of a full product of a defensive end, and James Pierce is really that rush specialist. And I think that is what's so exciting about to have a guy who can get around the corner and get the quarterback like that.
Yeah.
And so they're just a little bit different there. But no, I am so excited for the defensive line, and I don't want to put a lot of pressure on them, but there is going to be a lot of pressure because the better they play, the better the backers play, the better the defensive backs play. Yeah. But I'm not worried that they won't meet expectations. Like, I'm really not, because I've seen it. I mean, last year I thought they were good. 2 years ago they were really good when we were, number 2 in run stop, which run stopping is everyone. It truly is everyone. DBs, corners, safeties, everybody's got to be on a run stopping. But it's the one group that I'm really excited about that I think will actually be able to meet expectations. Like we were talking about on offense, I'm a little worried about the offensive line a little bit. I might even be worried slightly about a Nico in a little bit because I know how high my expectations are for him. But with this D-line, I'm like, hey, let the boys off the leash and let them go get it. And that's why my quote is would you like to tell the people what this means?
Get after that ass.
That's right. I don't know what coach told me that. I don't know what coach told me that first or where I first heard it or whatever, but it's so simple. And it's get after that ass. I mean, go get off blocks, play physical, run to the ball, pursuit, be a bunch of menace, be a bunch of problems, be a bunch of goons out there. And that's why we're talking defense. We were talking defense. There was no way that wasn't going to be my quote. And I love how I put me as if I was the first person to ever say it. But that's what I mean, it's in my Twitter bio. And it's a life, man. It's about life. Go after and get after it. Just go get after it. So, anyways, defensive line, I'm very excited about them. And I truly, in my heart, think that they are going to produce the way we think they can and the way they need to. I will be very, very surprised and probably upset and disappointed if we're sitting here at the end of the year or halfway year and we don't think they've produced like they have, whether that's getting after the quarterback and run stopping, but I don't see that happening. I think there's too much talent there for that not to happen.
Yeah, and I think there's too much experience too. Like that's so
you
much
know what?
about it. It's like guys have played so much ball already. It's like
we've seen
if
it.
you're not successful, it's like you're not trying. You must be putting in zero effort.
No, you're right. Talent. You're right. You're right. I was wrong. I shouldn't have said talent. We've had so much experience. We've seen it with our eyes, and that coaching staff. You're not going to play for Rodney Garner if you're not playing. So it's like there's literally should be no way that they don't produce.
Yeah, Rodney keeps some boys right. All right, backers, linebackers. Here we are again. I swear, I think the linebacker position has been the hardest one to get depth in over the years in Heupel's like time here. And some of that's injury. Some of that's just guys like, hey, we projected them to be, this kind of talent and didn't really produce, right? So the big guys that you have some playing time under and you think, there's the three that I have in mind, which is Keenan Pili, Arian Carter, Jeremiah Telander. After that, it is very much like who is it going to be?
Let me stop you real quick. One guy that we have not mentioned in any of the podcasts yet, and I think it's unfair to him because he's actually played a very, very good amount of snaps. Now, are they bad snaps? No, I don't remember anything glaringly bad, but they haven't been anything good. He's just been there. But that's Caleb Perry. And he's been in the program for a while now.
That's very true. He was part of the group of linebackers, the next group that I see like almost two tiers of Caleb Perry, Jalen Smith, and then possibly Spillman. So it's like those three guys, because from day one, we've rotated linebackers from day one. Like it has never been a two guys stay there. They play the entire time. Like I remember when I played, like AJ Johnson did not come out of the game ever. He's staying in the entire time. Maybe the other guy rotates a little bit, but he's not coming out. This is different. We rotate. We go back and forth. I am very excited to see Keenan get to play an entire year. It sucked that he got hurt right away. It does seem like he might be injury prone. So it's like, knock on wood, please just stay healthy, because I think he's a smart individual. We were excited to see what he could do, because watching BYU tape, it was like there's some flashes, but there's also like, huh? And then the few plays we saw versus Virginia, like I still remember that first big third down that like he made a great play to get out into the flats and cover the running back coming out of the backfield and pretty much made that play because the quarterback was going there, took it away, and then he tried to run and it was a sack, and they kicked the field goal. And I was like, Keenan made that third down stop. It might not be seen on the stat sheet or whatever, but he did it. And I was like, okay, that's exciting. Like a guy who's got that much knowledge. He has so much experience. And I hope that just rubs off on the guys. And we saw things from Arian and Jeremiah last year that we really liked. We love Jeremiah, the way he puts his freaking face in the fan. He does not care to hit somebody. He wants to hit somebody. We saw Arian Carter, his athleticism, I really like. I think he was a little bit behind in just like understanding what's happening around him. Oh, this formation does this. hey, if a guy's crossing this way, expect another one to come the other way. Like just little nuances of linebacker.
Kyler.
What?
Oh my gosh. This shows how insane our D-line is and can be. And I just thought I haven't thought about this guy. I mean, this is crazy that I'm going through a roster right now and I see a guy and I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I forget about him? That's like forgetting about Nico in a way, like meaning like it's so obvious, but there's so many good ones. I forgot all about Davian Hobbs.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like I should my UT fandom should be revoked because of how good he looked as a true freshman, like body size, speed, physicality. And then when we talked to the guy at practice and he was like, yeah, David Hobbs could probably be the best one out of all of them. And we were like, we could see it because coming out of high school, he was so, 4/5 star, whatever, website you look at or group you go with. I've been talking on 4 podcasts now with ours, talking Vols, and I forgot all about him.
There's too much. There's too many. There's almost too many D linemen to like keep up with.
I mean, talk about a guy who can bounce outside and inside. Holy shoot, bro.
It's gonna be fun.
I mean, I honestly feel like I need to drive to campus and like be like, hey man, I'm sorry, no disrespect.
You on my podcast.
Sorry, dude. Like you could end up being like one of the best ones out of this entire group, but like, I mean, that's crazy, bro. Crazy. Go ahead.
Yeah, but just good things out of Aaron Carter. Not sure if he was there yet, but like with Tim Banks, what he said in that media thing was just like, him and Jeremiah have really started to understand the game more and get more in the books about it, get more on film about it. So now it's just, I mean, really like Caleb Perry does have more experience than both Arian and Jeremiah. So can he be there? I think
Wait, who'd you say? You meant Caleb Perry, not Caleb Perry?
No, that's what I said Perry, if you misheard me. But that's what I meant is like he has more experience than Arian and Jeremiah. I just think it's just like physical limitations. But is he, that fourth guy? I think he probably starts the season as that fourth guy. But like, I want to see Jalen Smith. I remember watching this film being like, this guy loves to hit. He plays in the middle. He can run down the line. And then Spillman's just like an exciting freshman out there. And it's like, is he going to get reps kind of like Jeremiah and Arian got last year?
I don't feel as bad missing this name because he hasn't done it yet, but we've heard some good things. But Jason Jenkins, another guy who's been in the program for a hot minute now. Anyways, talk about linebackers. So I've been thinking about it, and I thought it was a very funny and good point. I was out making my stops this week for work and was listening to Josh and Swain, and they were joking about how Tennessee fans or just fans in general, it's like you'll go all through the offseason and you're like, yeah, we're 9-10 wins, and then it's like August, you're like, I don't know, we could maybe
yeah.
And then it's like 11 wins, and then by the end of it, you're like, let's go 12-0, and you like flip the table. Yeah. And so it's funny because people we do get like that as fans. But I've done a lot of thinking since we talked about offense, and I'm thinking defensively, and I just I think it's wrong to. I think you just better be careful having really, really, really high expectations for the entire defense because we truly don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to think about 2022. I know people would get frustrated and feel like our defensive backs weren't good. I know we gave up a bunch of yards or whatever and all that. Okay, but when you looked at linebacker play, and I never in my life thought I would be talking this much about Jeremy Banks since he was there and gone. But I watched every game, and it was like the guy was an absolute ball player in the run against. I was very impressed with him in pass coverage, especially in that Alabama game. I will always remember him locking up that tight end. The tight end would make catches, and Jeremy was all over him. He couldn't do anything else. And then going into last year, everyone's like, oh, it's okay. They'll be fine. Our defense, our linebackers will probably be better. I mean, Jeremy Banks was fine. It's like, whoa, don't disrespect. And then you go to people legitimately who cover the team are like, linebackers will be better. And I'm like that. Careful.
Yeah.
And then Keenan Peely goes down, and you're looking at some rough linebacker play.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you're at that spot again where if he goes down, or maybe not even him, but another guy goes down, you're looking at some guys who we don't know how they're going to be yet. We're excited about them, but you don't know. And that's where it's like it's not fair to say this defense is going to be really good. That's why I said I think this team as a whole will go as far as the defense takes them, because I don't expect the offense to lay a bunch of lulls in games like they did last year and have lulls in entire games or halves. So like I said last week, the Florida game, the Missouri game, and then the second half against Bama. Like I don't see some of that happening with offense. I truly don't. And so that's why I feel like if this defense, and once again, they don't have to be great statistically, but it's you look in the finer things like how good are you on 3rd and 4th down getting off the field? What's our turnovers? And as we just talked about, I think the defensive line is going to be a menace, whether it's actual sacks, whether it's pressures, or whether it's just hurrying throws. But linebacker has to be extremely concerning. People can sit there and they'd be sitting around the water pool and like, yeah, Keenan Peely, Caleb Perry, Edwin Spillman. Like you can say the names, but like in Tennessee Orange, a lot of the most proven guy in Tennessee Orange would be Jeremiah Telander. Be careful what you're saying. And we had a lull of linebackers when we were growing up. They were always great. It was from the 98 team to the early 2000s. Linebackers were always really good. Then in Butch's years, we just couldn't find one. Unfortunately, Jalen Reeves-Maybin was great. He can never have really that. I know A.J. Johnson was good, but the teams weren't that good. And then it felt like, no offense, but it was like Colton Jumper every year, and that poor guy gave everything he had, but it wasn't what we needed. And then, Jalen got hurt his senior year. But I don't want to bring up the name, but when Pruitt was here, I mean, Henry T as a freshman with Daniel Batuli right next to him was some very, very good linebacker play.
That's true.
And so it's like we've definitely ridden this roller coaster of linebacker play, and I'm a little nervous about it this year. I really am. I'm excited about individuals. I'm worried about the group. I couldn't be more excited to see Arian Carter with another year. I couldn't be more excited to see Edwin Spillman based on what we saw in the spring game, his high school highlights, and Coach Ing talking about him. So there's guys I'm excited about, but I can't sit here and truthfully say that I can really count on Caleb Perry to like really make big impactful plays. I think he'll be fine, but I don't know if they're game-winning plays. I think Jared Lander will take another step forward, but is it good enough to so it's like we'll get to our grades at the end, but I think the best way I can say it is just we got to wait and see. I would caution people to be careful of just throwing out names. And it's crazy that we're putting all this on Keenan Peely. I mean,
that kind of are. That's why I said the interior D line is going to be very, very big for this defense. Like they have to pretty much protect the linebackers.
Yeah,
in a way.
Yeah. So we'll get to but when we finish, I'm guessing we'll go through and say our predictions of what we grade wise.
Yeah. Okay. Into the DBs, your boys, your lovely position group. Now breaking this down into kind of 3 segments of corners, safeties, star position. That star position starting there, losing Jordan Thomas just sucks. I mean, absolutely just awful that we lost him. So much potential, so much he was going to be a great player for us. But next man up, looking at Christian Harrison or possibly Boo Carter, or possibly maybe a John Slaughter. I thought he played some of that, last year a little bit. that is such an important position for this defense and how we run it. It's like I always see it as like the diamond in the rough, the thing that makes it tick, the position that's like, hey, you need to make sure there's a dog here for this to work. So I am kind of worried just because Jordan Thomas went down about that and about the defense as a whole because of that.
Yeah, I mean that I would have loved to have played that position, which I kind of did in high school a little bit. If you're an outside linebacker, you weak side outside linebacker, you get to play that, but it was never like as freedom reign, or like if I would have stayed at Memphis longer, I would have loved to have played that position because you're in everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, whether you get to blitz, whether you get to set an edge on the run game, try to come up, make a tackle, whether you're in coverage, you get to do a little bit of everything. You're always in the action, always in the play. And I'll be honest, maybe I'm just I'm a baby about stuff, but it's nice not being the last level of defense because it's a brutal feeling when you're the corner on the outside or the safety over top and you're the last one. That is a very stressful place to be. You have to have a legit, almost psychopath mentally that they have a great ego and confidence, because once you get burnt once, it is brutal. It is brutal. So defensive backs, man, it's just like linebackers. It's a lot of names. It's guys that we all as fans know because of the recruiting process. But I'm nervous and worried, and it's like I said last week or 2 weeks ago when we talked about it. I know Kamal and Gabe Giudiali maybe had some moments, but they were both really solid college corners.
Yeah.
And so if you felt like we weren't good in the defensive backfield with them, I don't know how your fans are going to feel like with it now. Maybe Ricky Gibson's really, really good. Maybe Jordan Matthews steps up. Maybe Jordan Matthews steps up. Maybe, I hated losing a Caleb Beasley. I know he's a freshman, but I hated losing him to injury to see how he could progress. What about the two guys that come in from transfers? Like
Jamon McCoy, Jalen McMurray.
Yeah, and it's like, so those guys have played it, but are they going to step in and be as good as a older vet Gabe Giudiali or a ball player Kamal Hadden? Like,
yeah,
it's worrisome, man. It's worrisome. It really is. I guess I'm going to wait and see spot here. I do think the star position. I was listening to Willie Martinez and I was cutting the grass, and he talks about how Boo is just such a playmaker. Like, that's just what he was talking about. He's like, he's a playmaker. He's all over it. And I love to hear that. And the other thing about this is, too, that I was thinking about, and with linebacker, with defensive line, it's obvious. There's going to be a lot of rotation. But you hit the nail on the head with linebacker, you're going to see four guys. And then is there one that kind of separates himself to be good enough that he just can't be taken off the field, like a Jeremy Banks a couple years ago, like Jennings Maben or A.J. Johnson, Daniel Batuli. So is there a guy that solidifies himself? If not, then the coaches are telling you, hey, we think they're all about the same and we're just going to try to keep them fresh, or put them in situations based on down and distance, opponent, and things like that. But I think you're going to see – I don't know how much you're going to see rotation of the outside corners. I think you'll see Christian Harrison, Boo, and maybe one other guy there and kind of see who runs away with it. And then at safety, and you're hearing stuff talking about, like, I mean, Andre Turrentine's probably going to be the most solidified guy back there.
Yeah.
And, like, I've seen some stuff that I like from Turrentine. Like, there's some flashes, but that's what they are. They were flashes. And, like, I'm not going to hold it against him that he's stepping in and playing against Georgia, one of the best college teams. And like I said, he had some good plays there, maybe some not so good plays there. So I'm not going to hold that against him too much. But it's, once again, whether you loved him or disliked him or whatever, you still knew what you had with Tate McCullough and Trey Flowers. It was at least going to be this. Yeah. You're going to maybe get a little here. Then there was those plays that are going to frustrate a little bit, but it's always going to level out. Like, I don't know where Andrew Turrentine's floor or ceiling is. And then lastly, what?
I was like, it does feel like we have guys now that are playing that we literally don't know anything about. Like the two transfers at the corner position, and then you've got the guy from MTSU, Jacoby Thomas. That's like
safety.
You can start at safety, and it's like we haven't seen 3 out of the 4 DBs like that could be starters. We haven't seen them play for this team. Like that is one of those where it's like, I don't know. I really hope the D line gets to the quarterback. Like, very nerve wracking.
It's not even in pass protection. I'm sorry, it's not even in coverage, which is what you automatically think about. But it's like, how well are these guys going to fit their alleyways and help in the run stopping? How good are they in open field tackling once a pass is completed, whether they're in zone or man? So it's not just locking somebody up. It's how do you play how your angle's taken. And then you hear that like a Will Brooks, which, I should be the biggest Will Brooks fan in the world, a white walk-on safety who's earning his stripes. Like, it's like a badge of honor. But no offense to Will, I watched him last year. I'm not going to hold it against him when he's trying to block. He's trying to guard arguably one of the best players in college football in Brock Bowers. I think you need a high level future NFL starter to be guarding a Brock Bowers, not a guy who's walked on and maybe have physical limitations. So it's like, and I get it, man. As a coach, you got to trust these dudes to at least be where you tell them to be. Even if they don't make a pass breakup, at least you're there to make the tackle.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, it's a lot of unknown. And that's why I was so excited to talk about this, because I feel like, and I don't want people just to be like, oh, well, this name and this name and this name. It's like, right now, all they are names.
Yeah,
the defensive line are proven names. The linebackers are sort of proven. These boys back here are as green gets. So you gotta, all I can say is you gotta be careful. And I just don't want people's expectations, because I already know the flack that the DBs have taken the past 2 years. And hopefully we get fortunate and these guys are a bunch of young, athletic, good players, and they meet the expectation of last year or even go above it. But you can't. I'm telling you right now, no one in the Knoxville media or fans can tell you, hey, this group or this guy is going to be good. Because guess what? They don't fucking know.
There's no way they can know.
Because I think that even Coach Heupel, Tim Banks, and Willie Martinez has an idea, but they don't fully know because the lights have not shown. So it's like, I don't know. Like I said, I'm extremely excited for the season, and I'm extremely optimistic. But I'm going into it with very tempered expectations for DBs and linebackers. I'm kind of sitting back like, all right, show me. What do we have here?
Yeah, and that leads into our little grades like we did last week for our kind of expectations of what we want them to be at.
No, predictions of what we think they will do.
Predictions of what we think they will
do. You can say both. Hey, you can say, Reed, we need to be this to get where we want to go, which you and I said 10-2 and in the playoff. And that's not our expectation. That's what we're wanting. Because I based on what I watch with my eyes, if we end up 9-3, I might still be like, okay, good year. But it depends on how the games turn out when you see it with your eyes.
Yeah.
But I want to hear what you need them to be to get to 10-2, and then what you think they're going to be.
Let's start with the back end. Let's start with the DBs. I think what we need them to be is I kind of want to say B-. I feel like to get to the 10 win, it's like you kind of have to be, but I'm really expecting like a C+ out of them. So I just don't know. My Vol fandom really just hopes Ricky Gibson is just a baller and like he really is the player that I want him to be because I really like him just overall. I liked his film out of high school. I like his approach. I like the way he talks about ball. But it doesn't really look like it's going to be that great. When it comes to linebackers, I think we will need a B-, and I think if we're healthy, we can get there. But I don't know if we're going to be healthy. I really don't. I'm worried we're not, and the depth there is just not going to be great, and it's going to be a real struggle. And then I look at D-line, and I'm like, like I need a performance out of you, and I expect a performance out of you.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason they shouldn't be. I see everything set up. Your coach, your skill level, your experience. Like there's no reason you shouldn't be an A-level defensive line.
I couldn't agree more, and I'm basically right there with you. So defensive line, I expect them to be A+. I expect them to be great. I think they will be great, and we need them to be A+ to go 10-2.
Yeah.
Linebackers, I'm going to say – I wanted to say that I wanted to give them a B- or a B, but I just – and then defensive backs would be like a C+. But I almost look at like a Keenan Peely and Andre Turrentine as the same thing, like each guys that have played ball. Andre a little bit last year for us, Keenan because he's older and he's done it at BYU. But I think I'm going to give – man, this stinks. I don't want to – I think linebackers are going to be like a B-, C+. I really do until they show me something different. And I need to be wrong because if we want to go 10-2, they need to be at the low end. At the lowest end, they need to be a B-, but realistically, we need them about a B. And then – but I'm going to predict I think it's going to be a C+. I think they'll have some flashes. I think we'll have some young guy mistakes. But like you said, if there's another injury or so, we could be in trouble. And then defensive backs, it's just asking a lot of young or unknown players. And so I think we need a B-. If we get a B, I'm going to act like we just won the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
But if it's a B-, I'll still be pumped. I think they're going to be about a C+.
Yeah.
So I mean,
scary, it could get down to the C- range like pretty quickly if something doesn't go right. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It couldn't be good.
I'm gonna tell you, you'll UTC. We won't know anything, but you might get a really, really good appetizer. I'm talking like this ain't no little chips and salsa. I'm saying you're getting some dang bang bang shrimp, or you're getting what's that?
You getting the sampler platter?
Yeah, I mean, this is a sampler platter for a North Carolina State game. I think you'll really have a chance unless the D line just takes over. But I think Oklahoma, probably not Kent State because I think D line will take over. But Oklahoma and North Carolina, you're going to know. North Carolina State, I should say, like you're going to know, I think, a pretty good amount about the linebackers and DBs. Because I think once you're 4 games in, you've played 2 somewhat cupcakes you should be, you get a neutral site game and 1 road game. I think that's your full course meal getting you ready for the season. I think after Oklahoma, we'll be sitting here, we're going to know, hey, this could be a long season in the defensive backfield and linebackers.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we'll know what's going to happen the rest of the year. Like,
4 games in.
Moving forward, yeah. Even on offense, too. I think it's going to give us a lot of ideas of where Nico is, where the whole scheme with everybody, who the wide receivers are that are stepping up, all that.
Yeah. And I think, listen, last thing I'll say, and I'll probably reiterate this next week because next week we're going to be breaking down just doing season prediction. And I was listening to the Ryan Russillo pod, and he had Danny Kanell on, who they used to do. They were co-hosts together on ESPN before they both left, or Danny Kanell got let go. But they talked about college football, and these are guys that do it nationally. and they cover the sport, and they didn't really talk about Tennessee at all until the very end. And they were doing a draft of like, okay, let's draft who we think will be potential picks for the playoff. And Ryan took UT and said, I could see them sneaking in that 12 spot. So it's like, and I'm not saying that I really respect their opinions and what they say is what I live by. I'm saying take ourselves out of the orange colored glasses, we don't live in the state of Tennessee. These guys are truly looking at it from an outsider's perspective. And so he took Tennessee to make it. So I was like, there's someone out there in the world that could see it. And then Danny Cannell's reaction was, yeah, it could be Nico time. Like that kid could be really, really special. Yeah. So you see that. So there is that little bit, but it's still, people are not talking about us. And I feel like people aren't talking about us the way that we see it here. And maybe that's how it is every year. But when it's really opened my eyes the past 2 weeks of us doing this and breaking it down, that there's a lot of unproven, and that can really set you up for an awesome 10-2 year. It could set you up for 8 wins, 9 wins, and maybe some bum because we get excited about the stuff we don't know yet.
Yeah.
And there's a 50-50 chance. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean, because if you really look at it, there's, a top 4 kind of teams in the SEC where it's like Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, LSU, Bama are like up there in the top. And then there's a lot of middle of the road teams that you just don't know about. And we're part of that middle of the row. Like, we're not up there right now. Yeah, we just had an 11-2 season, 2 years ago, and we beat Bama, and we're ranked number 1 in college football playoffs. But like, this is a different year. There's a lot of new things that are happening. We're in the middle of the road with a bunch of other SEC teams that are also thinking we can go 10-2. We can win this many games. Like Oklahoma, Kentucky, Florida, all those guys right there in the middle, they're all thinking that same thing. South Carolina, Missouri, for goodness sake.
Missouri's got a lot of players. Missouri, you got your quarterback coming back, and then you have Luther Burden. It's a good place to start. I know they lost their running back and some defensive players, but I agree. You probably go out there to Missouri, and they're probably talking pretty highly and feel pretty good about them, and they're thinking like, we just look at it as we go through the roster and we're like, going to Arkansas, win, which it should be a win. But I don't think outsiders look at Tennessee the way we look at it, especially this year. And I think Nico has a lot to do about that. James Pierce has a lot to do that. I mean, we're starting at great spots. I mean, the most important positions, we look to be in great shape, which is great. But, it's not like a Caleb Downs left Bama and came here where you and I can look and be like, oh, he's one of the best defensive backs in the country. We expect him to do that here. That's not what we got, And just a name, I know we don't need him on the D-line. I know that, but just a local guy Walter Nolan, who went to Texas A&M, played pretty well. He's going to Ole Miss. It's not like he's showing up or a linebacker showing up that's like, book it. We've seen it. As long as he stays healthy, he's going to be really, really good. And health is what everyone has to deal with. And, I should, instead of Walter, I should have said the linebacker, but from LSU, but I forgot his name. And I know he had a little step back last year, but it's like, we didn't sign that guy and be like, oh, book it. Like, he's going into his senior year. He's a really good college player. So that's why I'm just saying, it's like, these past 2 weeks have made me really be like, Reed, you might want to temper your expectations a little bit, bud, because I know you're wanting 10-2, but we got a lot of unproven stuff.
That's true.
So
very true. All right, brother.
See you, brother. See you next week.
See you next week. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you are watching, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment. Absolutely love the comments. If you're just listening, rate, review, download, re-download. That helps us with our numbers. And follow us on those listening platforms for whenever the new pod comes out. Also, follow us on social media at Pancakes and Bacon for our main account on Twitter, at Pancakes and Bacon _RTI on Instagram. If you want to follow Reed, it's just at rbacon26 on Twitter. And then I'm at Kyler Curbison on all social medias. So check me out there. And then just really appreciate you guys. Thank you for being the best fans in the world. And as always, go Vols.